Nene, and that's a very good praise to start, by the way, because you're assuming that the Kenyans don't know who they want to lead them. I mean, they are the ones who decide eventually, right?
Yes.
And everyone will be presenting themselves in the ballot. In fact, there's a rumor you are running for president.
Yes, I'm running for president.
Okay.
I've even done a pre-launch, so I'm not going back. And I've started my shuttle diplomacy to fundraise. So I'm running for president.
As a young person, do you believe you can galvanize the youth to back your presidential ambition?
Yeah, because that is my bargaining chip. Actually, Kenya has got 3 main problems. The number one problem, the major problem, is our tribal chiefs. It is the same people over and over again who have been in the political limelight since I was a young man. They have never implemented anything constructive except corruption. They are the masterminds and the perpetrators and beneficiaries of corruption. When it comes to implementing corrupt deals, they are together. But after they have divided the money into their businesses, they come and divide us along the tribal lines. So when if we are coming into leadership, it is a revolution, it is a new generation. It is what is our mission as a generation.
Yeah.
And we have to follow from what other generation did before us. When the Orengos, who is still our role model, I think is still the only politician who has kept his head. When he came to the political limelight, he did not mince words. He said the problem of Kenya, there are 3 problems. 1 is Moi, 2 is Moi, 3 is Moi. He was chased, he ran around, but at some point, the whole country was convinced that our problem is Moi. Right now, the main problem of this country are these guys. Raila Amolo Odinga, William Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta, Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka. These are the main problems facing this country. And the only way to get them out is through the political process. We have to target those positions that they're cheating Kenyans with. Mm-hmm. So in marshalling the youth, that's problem number 1. Problem number 2 facing this country is the tribal divisions. Today, if I tell a Luo that Raila is corrupt, maybe I will not even walk in Nyanza. Because
but you'd have to substantiate such
statements. Or if you tell a Kalenjin that Ruto is corrupt, Ruto is in the public domain as the most corrupt politician. But the Kalenjin will not believe that Ruto is corrupt. If you tell Kamba that Kalonzo is corrupt, they'll not believe. Because they are worshipping this guy. When you give somebody the God qualities, you cannot question him. So the first thing is to identify the problem. The problem is this crop of leaders, and we know them by names, and I've already mentioned the names. Now, the another hurdle is to change the attitude of the young people from the tribal inclination to issue-based politics.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a very big hurdle. But let me assure you, from the mood of young people right now in the country, people are yearning for change. And change cannot come from the mass. Change must come from a crop of new, energetic, focused, visionary leaders who are ready to guide people to the right direction.
Okay.
And just to conclude, in Africa now, corruption is the main problem. Corruption is perpetrated by that kind of crop of leaders everywhere in Africa. But if you look at the academic discourse all over Africa now, the third liberation is about economic growth and development. So we have to drive the agenda of economic growth and development.
Yeah.
If I look at the people who have now set their foot as presidential candidates in the country right now, there is nobody with an economic agenda. Nobody has an economic agenda. Mukisa Kitui is trying something, but Mukisa Kitui is not a politician. Everybody knows that this guy will flop badly as a politician. He's a technocrat. He doesn't know how to connect with the ordinary person. To be a politician, you have to get dirty. Our politics is very dirty. You will not sit here in the boardroom and expect to get votes. It's the same like Ekuru Aukot and Dida. They thought that by going to TV, you can be president. We have to go down to the ground. If you saw what Bobby Wine did, that is exactly what a politician is supposed to do. You get dirty. If young people need tea after you've sold your vision, you give them tea. You're not going there to assume that. I've campaigned for so many people. In my village, you sell the policy, you sell the vision, you sell your agenda. They tell you, Mheshimiwa, sisi tunasikia na hapa. Hiyo yote unasema tujasikia. So after selling your idea, you have to give them tea and you have to follow the right channels to get it. But by all means possible, we are going to try our best. And I am sure if we marshal the youth as a constituency, these guys are going home.
Robert, I find this very interesting because what Nene is saying is something we know, but we don't talk about such things on national TV. So
no, it's something we assume. And by the way, the issue about no politician has actually come up with any other kind of issue-based politics. We have to appreciate that for once we are talking about the economy within the political framework. As much as there are some questionable points here and there about that hustler nation thing, about wheelbarrows and things like that. I mean, for once, we are not talking about Luo Nyanza, Western, we're not talking about regions and tribes. For once, the counter-narrative that is coming from the other side, the counter-narrative that is coming from the likes of ODM when they hear about the wheelbarrows is that, if we are going to build the economy, we are also looking at this. So the conversation has actually started to move to the issue-based politics. So, and that we have to appreciate, because for once now, if you're going to come to the spotlight, don't tell us that now unajua mimi ni watu wa Coast Region wananiangalia, because already the grounds have been set. The front runners are talking about the economy, whether or not through policy or anything, they are already talking about building the economy from the bottom up, as we've had. So this thing about the youth, and I'm glad actually that congratulations for running for office, because, and particularly as a presidential candidate, because I can tell you, Trevor, to even run as an MCA as a youth is like climbing the highest mountain without any tools. And it's only because of the resources, nothing to do with your policies. Nothing to do with your policies, nothing to do with your ambition, nothing to do with your passion. Everything to do with how do you get from point A to B. Yes, of course, in order for you to even go and sell your policies as a youth politician, where are you going to sell them? Start from there. Okay, I'm going to gather my friends, my youth friends. Where are you going to gather them? That's a venue. Yeah? You have to get a permit. Yeah? They come and they're like, okay, are we sitting inside or outside? Is there an inside? Is there a tent? That's money. When they sit, they'll be like, we appreciate, we know you don't have money, but then because of that, then take 5 minutes, because we are not going to be here for an hour without a soda. So yes, to run for any office, MCA, whichever, you need resources as a youth politician. And but the one thing I want to call out the youth, because I work a lot in that space, is this whole idea about the revolution. We need to go for a revolution. It's time for the youth. It sounds so nice. It sounds nice in paper. It sounds nice on Twitter. It sounds nice online on WhatsApp. But you know what? When you finally say, let's get our hands dirty. So tunakutana watu wangapi wanakuja railways. Now that wheel of actually doing the work actually involves that when we have an initiative such as BBI, where are you? Why did they forget about the youth? Why did they, in their 14-member task force, only have senior citizens with an average of 55 years, Because they were 14 and they were all 50 years and above. What happened? Because the youth were having their revolution online, Why didn't they show up in these places and say, hey, you're talking about amending our constitution. You're talking about creating jobs for the youth. Talk to us. Ask us what kind of jobs we want, So I think it's not just about running for office. Let us also understand that between now and that running for office, there are things that are happening within the policy and governance spaces. And where are you as a youth? Show up. Omari, is this narrative going to change? Because I see the way you're listening to them very keenly, the young people in the political field. Is it ever going to change? Then it says people are telling you we listen through our stomachs. So whatever you're saying, you niako too.
The youth now constitute, leave the statistics coming from the National Bureau of Statistics, they might be around 80% of the population, people below 35 years. They seem to be waking up to the reality that this is their country. And the only way to change this country is not to wish the old guy's death, is to get to the murky battle of politics to change the narrative. I have seen the questions being raised by the old guys. It's true, government is rewarding plus 70 and above. You've seen the courts have come to intervene when somebody who is 70 years is being appointed to be a chair or a chair lady of the youth issues. But what can really trigger the youths to change? The politics of 2022, the youths might not play a bigger role. Financially, they are crippled. But the goodwill has started coming. For example, presidential candidate, future His Excellency, is here. That ambition does not start from anywhere. If you see the movement of women emancipation in this country, to today when now they are getting the position of the Chief Justice, it is a long journey. Fights are going to be there. So the youths must be ready that the fights don't come only once and they are sporadic. The fights will be there. The old people are starting to listen. No old guy is now walking around with the white hair. It is an abomination to the youth. They don't vote for you. Everybody wants to dye his hair. Everybody wants to dress like a youth. Everybody wants to dance like a youth. Everybody wants to be like that youth because they control, one, the economic space in terms of their numbers. They will decide who will be the president come 2022. If they are, Mr. President, in the future, put your mantle to your own people. Let the youths elect somebody who listens and understands their problem. I totally agree with him that these people have been there from Lancaster, do not understand. We as parents who have youths pretend that we know what those children of ours need. The digital era's needs are totally different. And I'm sure there are more than 20, 30 million youths listening and watching this citizen program that don't wait to be given. If you sit there in Murang'a, in Nyamira, in Kisumu, in Mombasa, just on your Facebook, making noise, that noise, the guys don't listen. Take your voter's card. On that day, make sure you vote. That is the only way you acquire power. Okay. Originally, the theory in Marxism was power is acquired by grabbing. Today, power is acquired by voting. So we need to educate our youth that when you say you are not having a job, don't blame President Uhuru Kenyatta. Don't blame DP William Ruto. Don't blame anybody. Blame yourself. You have a voter's card. You decide who will represent you. Yeah. That message should be loud and clear. The only way to decide your fate is not by noise. Yeah. The only way to decide our economy, to decide whether our girls and boys are going to get jobs, to decide whether the economy improves, is to take that card on the second Tuesday of August 2022, vote. Elect the person you don't go complaining like people say, I never voted. But for 5 years, you are complaining that your road network is poor. There is no masks. So we need civic education to tell the youth to wake up. Yeah. When Joe Biden realized that there is a serious constituency that has never voted in the US, they went for that constituency. The majority of that constituency were the youths. He promised to listen to them and address their issues. The old folks like us, we have no ears, Mr. President, in the coming. We have no ears. We pretend that we listen to you. Can we have a youth revolution in voting? Not a youth revolution in going to discourse or in terms of Facebook issues. That agenda, you have seen when the CJ was named, all the women folk in this country and worldwide came to support and say this is their chance. That's my position.
Yeah.
Trevor,
yeah.
Can you just allow me, and I want to just put this out there. As much as we are saying that youth, we are pushing you to make noise with your voters card, you know, at this point we are talking about the Building Bridges initiative. As much as we have these voters cards, what we could have done as the youth, which I tried, and a few of us actually tried, is to go in and say, you know, the same way that the politicians, the MCAs were fighting for the car grants, the MPs were fighting that you know, they get the 35% going down to the constituency, the same way that the Senate was also pushing to have women in there. You know, everyone in their interest went into the BBI saying, okay, there's an opportunity here to fight for something, except that environment was not conducive and they did not open any doors. And we understand that we have to fight for our spaces, but no doors were open so that even the youth can go in and say, we have had, there's an expansion of the executive. We have had that we are going to have now the president, the deputy president, a prime minister, 2 deputy prime ministers. Where is the youth in all of this? Where is the caveat where now you say, actually, in order for you to be one of the deputy prime ministers, you have to be 45 years and below. So we are trying to capture the youth and give them some sort of, you know, playing field so that they can be introduced into that space.
Yeah.
So I do believe that, yes, for you to change, you have to go to the ballot. But before we get to the ballot, there's, for instance, leave aside the expansion of the executive. When we are talking about appointments, that now the National Assembly will have an opportunity to sit in the cabinet. That is where the youth should have come in very quickly and said, and in this you know, formula that we are putting the cabinet is, we are going to insist that we have at least 4 cabinet secretaries representing the youth, because that way even the ministries such as the youth ministry, the ministries such as arts and culture and sports, which actually largely deal with the youth, which are actually supposed to boost job creation for the youth. That's where we could have gone in, fought for those spaces, so that come 2022, you know, that would have given more motivation for youth to actually go into the referendum saying, me, I'm going to vote for this thing because, you know, now we have a chance to be, you know, prime minister as a youth. We have a chance to sit in the cabinet because whether they like it or not, if we pass this, we are going to have, you know, 4 cabinet secretaries. We have a chance even, you know, when we were talking about the IEBC, the picking of the commissioners. And at one point somebody actually tried to sneak in that political parties would then, you know, nominate people who they send to be commissioners of IEBC. That was the very contested issue that was brought up in Bomas. That is also where the youth could have come in and say, when we're picking commissioners, understand that the voter unit, you know, 70% of it is actually youth. We must have a commissioner who falls under the youth bracket. So it's about voting, but it's also about being at par with what is happening. All these initiatives, Punguza Mzigo, Building Bridges initiative, there was a task force. Do you know we had a task force for COVID-19? The Kenya COVID-19 Fund Committee, which was a boys' club. Again, no women, no youth, no nothing. So those are the things we have to be on the lookout for. And I'm glad that he's running for president, because at this point, we have to really jump on all these opportunities, because those are the things that are going to propel us, so that come 2022, for some of us who are vying, you know, then people can say, we've seen you actively involved. Let's try and give you a chance.
And that's where the issue is really, Nene, because I can see there's a lot of feedback after you mentioned your presidential ambition in 2022. Edwin Nyakweba on Twitter says, the youthful guys should know that saying zero corruption is one thing and implementing the policy is yet another. But wait a minute, how many youthful MPs do we have? How have they contributed constructively in parliament other than fights? Geoffrey Kirui on the other side says, I don't even know the name of this aspirant. He's called John Nene, by the way. And he thinks he can defeat Ruto or Raila. He can't even beat Mukhisa Kitui, who he despises with passion. And herein lies the issue. Nene, do you know what you're up against? Because this is a young person, I can even tell, Geoffrey Kirui, and he's already decided that there's no way you can beat Raila or Ruto. And then there's the issue on Edwin Nyakweba, who says, what have the youth really done, even with the ones that are already there, apart from just fighting?
Yes. I think that was coming into my mind. We are not saying that we do not have youthful leaders. We have a lot of youthful leaders. But all, you know, the political system of Kenya is controlled by the big men. Even the voting style. For example, in my area, Nyanza, the nominations are controlled by the boss. And if the name is floated by him, then you win elections. So most of these young people got into the political system through the godfathers. So they have to defend their godfathers. They cannot fight their... You see Babu Owino. He's just running after Raila Baba, Raila Mwana, everything. He has no mind of his own. All these young people you see in politics, they enter through the godfathers. They did not go there on their own. They did not have an agenda.
No.
They did not come with something they want to fight for. For us, we want to come up with a vision and a mission that this is what we need to do. And you see, every generation must find its mission. You either fulfill it or betray it. Our mission as a generation is economic empowerment. We have to expand the economic space. People are really suffering in this country because of lack of employment, difficult times, even the lockdown. Right now, if you are to ask the opinion of Kenyans, they would rather die in the streets than be locked in the houses. So we have to come up with an economic agenda that we are fighting for.
Okay.
I want the young man who is saying that you are going to be number this or number this. Ombija, in 2017, we fronted a young man in Migori County called Eddie Okechi Gisheru. I think people know him in the public limelight. And when we came to the political scene, we had 15 people who were vying for the Senate. We went straight to the Senate. I was his chief campaigner. And when we came to the political limelight, people said, we campaigned only for 6 months. And Eddie ended up being number 2 in Migori Senate. And when the senator died and there was a re-election, Raila had to go to Migori and come for 2 weeks. Joho, Otuoma, all the ODM people were doing door to door against that young man. So they let these people don't think that we are coming to politics to joke. We are going to marshal the support for young people.
Okay.
And we are going to campaign properly for our vision.
Okay.
And I am sure, I'm very sure, if I don't end up number 1, I'll be number 2.
Okay.
I will be, if the BBI succeeds, I'll be the official opposition leader. And then they shall have stolen my votes. So we are not just come there to joke.
Trevor.
And, we have, when you come to a political space, you look at the weakness of the old men. The biggest weakness of these old men is that they do not understand economic development. Economic development requires institutionalization of the institutionalization. So the first thing we are going to do is to have a very highly institutionalized political party. In Kenya, we don't have a political party as an institution. We have political parties that belongs to individuals. Okay. ODM belongs to Raila Odinga, Jubilee belongs to Uhuru Kenyatta, UDA now belongs to Ruto. We do not have a political party that is answerable to the people. Okay. So we have a lot of task now as a young generation. One, we are going to fight in 2 fronts. One, we are going to campaign to popularize our candidature. I have a lot of young people that have already aligned themselves to my political party. The first thing that we did in the last 2 years, we've been running a youth program called National Youth Roundtable. Our aim was just to identify potential leaders. I have a network of potential leaders in the 17 regions. We divided Kenya into 17 regions. There are young people who, given the resource, in Kakamega, they will beat all these politicians. Okay. In Mombasa, wherever they are, they only need the resource. Actually, they have been the chief campaigners of these guys. Okay. Another strength that young people have is they can vote and they can protect their vote. Okay. If young people are shown the potential that they have, and if young people are the bloc that is going to vote me in, then these guys have a run for their money. Okay.
Oruoba, you're also running, right?
Yes, I am. I'm running for Member of Parliament in Bovasi constituency in DC County. Okay. Yes. And I'm glad you said that if young people get resources, and the example you gave of Eddie is a clear example, because Eddie, if you read his story, even at one point he actually was in the streets. Yes. And truth be told, he actually got Raila Odinga to go and camp in Migori to ensure that that seat was not taken away. But if you look at his campaign at that time, Eddie had a lot of funding from the US community. He was literally swimming in money. So like you said, young people need resources. But there was one thing I wanted to highlight also is you know, we shouldn't just be complaining. We're always complaining, oh, we don't have any youth, the ones who we've had, what have they done? Last general election got us over 30 members of parliament who fall under the youth constituency, the youth bracket. So, and it's unfortunate that when we think of the youth, you know, he mentioned, you know, you almost certainly just go to Babu, you know, and who. But there are actually youth leaders out here who are doing stuff. I mean, look at Sakaja. He's trying, you know. Look at the likes of Caleb Amisi, Nixon Korir in Langata. You're talking about party politics, people who actually want to push the youth agenda, not only on the national platform, but within the political party spaces that they are in. We have the likes of Ndindi Nyoro, who suddenly, when Mount Kenya meetings are there, he's like a key figure, you know. That guy is 31 years old. So, as much as we are complaining, we don't have spaces and everything, so that we don't lose hope, we have to celebrate the wins that we have gotten. For a general election to give you over 30 members of parliament who fall under the youth bracket, that is such a win. And now the next thing we are going, by the way, when we talked about resources, I wanted to highlight a member of parliament called John Paul Murigi. I think that's the guy who campaigned on a bicycle, right?
Yes.
I mean, those are the success stories that we should be highlighting, so that it's not all doom and gloom for the youth who don't have money or don't have access to resources. That guy went and sold his manifesto on a bicycle, and he actually convinced the voter to go and give him the vote.
Okay.
So there's hope there, and for the youth, here's my thing. Just show up. Show up in these spaces and be serious about it.
Yeah.
Showing up is also on Facebook and Twitter. I have to correct you, Mari. It's also on Facebook and Twitter.
In his defense, he said that the old folk don't understand the youth, so it is okay.
That's where we are addressing, you know, it starts from there. We start complaining on Twitter and Facebook and nini, then we come on studio, and then suddenly the people who actually don't even have those resources are like, tumesikia kwa mtandao. So it is a form of, you know, in 2021, it is a form of a kind of revolution.
All right.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have to wind this up, but now BBI is coming to the people, no doubt, right? From a legal perspective.
Yes. What
would be your advice to the Wanjiku? What should they think about when they're going there? It's their decision, but what should be running in their minds?
The people, I said they should they should get their national ID and the voter's card. That is when the reality will dawn on these people, that the youths and Wanjiku will slaughter and massacre the BBI. Whichever date they will go to the referendum, definitely my approach is that let us not comment on Facebook, let us go and either vote for it, but I'll advise them that let them go and slaughter it, because they were never consulted. There is no position allocated for the youths. There is no position allocated for the Wanjikos. Now, the wisdom of Wanjiku in 2010 said, any question about change of structure of government must be brought to Wanjiku, that youth. Congratulations, my sister, for having an intention to contest. And I'll tell you for free, 2022, we will have more than 80% of people elected being the youth. Because you control this country. You have the people, you have the numbers. Why should you be crying? Look at the MCAs, the whole country. 90% of the MCAs, call them boda guys, call them small guys, they are the youth. Because one of their own. Why do you elect MCAs who are youthful, but you want to elect senators and governors and presidents who are likely to be, who are older? And when you become the president, I wish you all the best, and you become a member of parliament, I wish you all the best. Move the amendment to remove the age limit for the president. There is no justification that the age limit of a president must be 35 and above. Anybody above 18 has the capacity to contest for any seat. So that the youths who are 21 years old, 22 years old, start contesting for the president. And remember, contesting does not translate to winning. Joe Biden has contested severally. He came to win this time. So why do we reduce that time to start from 35? It should start from 18, so that my son will contest at 20, he'll contest at 25, he'll contest at 30. By the time he's reaching 40, his name has been known. So in my own view and in summary, what I'll tell Kenyans is that read the BBI. Don't go to the old story that Raila Odinga and Kibaki have read for us. Read it. If it does not make sense, throw it out. If it makes sense, vote for it. But let us maintain peace. To me, the country needs peace and coexistence of every citizen in this country.
All right. Oruoba, closing remarks?
My closing remarks, I want to speak to the youth because I fall within the youth bracket, and I do believe that we have a chance to change this country. This Building Bridges initiative, unfortunately, they took a very lazy approach towards solving the problems of the youth. When you look at the job creation, what they are trying to discuss in terms of shared prosperity, they are not really actionable points where you can say, okay, once we pass BBI, we would have created 2,000 jobs immediately. You
don't think the National Youth Commission will help in any way to handle those issues?
No, because we have the National Youth Council, which is the exact same structure as the proposed National Youth Commission, and with the exact same framework. And for many years, they have failed to actually devolve it down to the county levels. And for many years, the leadership of that council that we have right now that falls under the Ministry of Youth has actually no idea why they are in office. So for me, to come back and promise me the same thing that we've already seen, it doesn't make any sense. You can't be doing the same things and expecting different results. So I think in terms of the youth, when you look at the expansion of the executive, they didn't try to include us in there. They didn't try to put a caveat that basically says, you know, at least give us a prime minister, or even, you know, I mean, the deputy prime minister, something, give us something. When you look at the National Assembly, the Senate as well, all the issues that are touching on the different amendments actually don't speak to the youth. And the one issue that speaks to the youth, which is the National Youth Council or Commission, doesn't really, there's nothing new. So for me, I kept on, and I've read it to detail, and I kept on asking myself, is it intentional that we actually just do not want to address the youth? In that case, why should I participate in a contest that is not mine? Because here we have goodies being given to the women, we have goodies being given to the county assembly, to the National Assembly, to the Senate, even to possible technocrats, but we have nothing being offered, or we have nothing being addressed to the youth.
So if you, but I find that a bit interesting, Oruoba. Is it that there's nothing addressed to the youth, or are you not happy with what has been addressed to the youth? Because there's the National Youth Commission, there's the 7-year tax break, there's also the jobs that are being spread. You know, the 7-year tax break. Balance in terms of
the 7-year tax break, and I'm glad.
Not happy with
I'm glad that he brought up the issue on time. Why should it start? I mean, by the time a youth actually owns an organization, a company, by the time you're running a company and you would be, you know, eligible for this 7-year tax break, you're like 33. So therefore, you can only enjoy it for what? A year and a half, maybe, because, you know, the first year anyway, before this 1% mandatory tax, you are not going to pay the taxes. You understand? So for me, it seems as if it was a lazy approach, because they didn't really speak to the youth. The people who are sitting down and drafting these policies are not youth. They are so far from that youth bracket that they did not understand. Even offering that 7-year tax break, it does not really speak to the youth. It actually speaks to now the bracket between like 45 and 70, you know? Because those are the people who own businesses that are profitable, that are taxable, which can then enjoy a tax break. So if you look at all the points, down to shared prosperity and what we call the hubs, the innovative hubs, the job creation hubs. You know, a little bit, it's what do you call it? A little too late, because we have the NGO flooded in that industry, offering us, in fact, just recently, as I passed here, the former Iranian embassy is now a hub, an innovation hub. The NGO space has gone in there and filled that up, and now government is coming to say, we are going to try and give you 1 or 2 hubs here and there. Hello, we've been utilizing the hubs that, you know, these other spaces are there. So I think they could have addressed, at least at the bare minimum, how to create jobs, which industries could we tap in to bring in jobs for the youth. And they could have given one slot in that expanded executive. They could have given it to the youth, and they could have ensured that when we're talking about the cabinet positions, they should have also said, you know, let's reserve 2, 3, 4 for the youth.
All right.
Yes.
Nene, closing remarks.
We are going to a political season now.
Yeah.
And we have two strong political wings. We have the wing that is inclined to the BBI, and we have the wing that is inclined to the Hustler, and now we are coming in as the third generational change. BBI agenda is only favoring the old politicians, and I will, without fear of contradiction, BBI, the only implementable part of BBI is the power sharing deal, and it is very disappointing. If two people want to share power, they can just write an MOU instead of cheating Kenyans about the same things that have been clearly stated in the documents, in the archives, and the new constitution. So they should have just written an MOU and stop wasting the public resources. And even if today the BBI task force is told to account for how they use the money, it is just another scandal. So BBI will be there, and we have seen how these same people have messed up in implementing youth projects. Actually, what young people are now depending on are the projects that they created on their own. Music industry was not supported by the government. It is a purely youth initiative, and it is what is supporting the youth. Boda industry is purely a youth initiative. They started it on their own. The matatu industry, if you see how the youth are managing it, it is their own. So whatever we've started on our own is what we are eating. Anything that the government has promised this country is mad with corruption. Be it youth fund, 6.3 billion stolen. Every year they steal. I was having an MOU with the National Youth Council to implement the National Youth Roundtable. These guys have a budget of 500 million yearly. Yet they are given billions per year. If you ask them, where is the other bit? The old men have already taken it. Those young people are dying there with big ideas, but lack of resources to implement it. So as we go to the election, we are going to have three fronts. We have our youth economic revolution agenda that we are selling. And on Bija, we have 7 points that we need to present to the young people. Number one, we want to eradicate massive corruption in public service. Number two, we want to provide solutions and bring biting employment, especially to the bulging population of the youth. Number three, we want to promote mechanized agriculture driven by modern climate-smart technologies. Number four, we want to improve the general quality of life of our people. Number five, we want utilization of our minerals and other resources for the benefit of the entire country. Number six, we want to promote regional and global trade, political treaties for peace and stability. And number seven, we want to ensure full implementation of the Constitution, especially strengthening and promoting independence of various institutions. So we have this idea that we want to sell to young people. There are hustlers who are distributing gases and wheelbarrows, and they are the group of BBI. Let's meet in the field.
Let's leave it at that. Gloria Orwomba, youth policy analyst, and John Yaya Nene, politician, and Dan Standomari, lawyer. Thank you so much for making time. Let's see what you're saying really quick before we pass this over to DJ GG and Willis Raburu, who are coming up in just a bit. Ambassador John says, John, my good friend, as a presidential aspirant, should tell youths like me about his policies and his role to boost the youth gender. He's already done that just a few moments ago. Tell him not to rely on Miguna historical stories. We need a transformative agenda. Engineer Lazaro says, Mr. Mari, leaders should be very keen not to radicalize youths into hate their seniors, while we know very well most of them aren't really prepared to lead. All right. Jacob Abere says, let us not pretend. Youths and politics today has no compass. They are following honeypots in big party offices as artists. We have seen Kalonzo, Madividi, and Ruto holding gigs in the name of talent support. But at the end, Wembe ni ule bonanza. Lamurutu says, Ayombija, kindly tell Mr. Nene that despite the rotten political environment we do huddle through, let him maintain that spirit. Nobody knows what might unveil tomorrow. All right. Brilliant. And that's where we leave it for now. We're taking a quick break here on Daybreak. When we come back, DJ GG is back on the building with Willis Raburu. See you in a bit.